I welcome everybody to another episode of the Men's Sexual Mastery Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about BDE, which some of you may know as big dick energy. But here at Men's Sexual Mastery, we have appropriated that term. We've taken it back and we call it big divine energy. And we're going to be diving into everything around this reframe, what it means, what it can unlock for us as men in our relationships, in our business, in our day-to-day lives. So, Hawks, what does it mean to step into BDE? What are the characteristics of a man carrying BDE?
BDE, as we define it, like you said, Ben, big divine energy, rather than big dick energy, is the energy of containment, of authenticity and confidence. And it's coming from a place, when we refer to it as big divine energy, it's coming from a place of deep alignment, deep reverence, and there's less of the ego, or what's aptly referred to as cockiness, that is often associated with big dick energy. And yet there are still some of those similarities in that swagger, that confidence, that grounded sense of like, here's a man who knows who he is, he knows what he wants, and he's not afraid to go out there and get it, or seek it. There's a difference, though, in the energy of how that man relates with the world. And big dick energy, to me, is associated with a little bit more of the taking energy. There's this like, yeah, I'm the shit, and I'm coming in with this big dick energy, and I'm gonna have my way. I'm gonna get what I want, and I'm the fucking man, which can work for a lot of men. It can be very effective. And it also has other repercussions, and there's impacts and consequences if we come with that taking energy. Big divine energy, to me, is it's a giving energy. And yet it still allows for the man to claim and to receive all that he desires and more. But it's one that is mutually generative, mutually beneficial with every being that he interacts with. There's a reciprocity, there's a giving. He's adding value. He's providing nourishment simply through connecting and relating in whatever form that takes, that occurs in. And so some of the, if we were to look at a Venn diagram, some of the overlap with big dick energy and big divine energy is the confidence, the swagger, the authenticity. And I would separate the two from big dick energy being more of the taking, and big divine energy coming with that giving. But through that giving, in reciprocity, there is so much receiving that happens, but we're coming with a full cup. And this is, I'd love to turn it over to you, Ben, because you actually coined this term, big divine energy. And when we first were exploring business partnership together, I absolutely loved that reframe. And I was like, yes, that is bang on. This is the reclamation that I'm all about, and that I have found to be so incredibly generative in my life. And so I really appreciated that. And I know one of the big concepts for big divine energy, one of the practices that allows us to come with that giving energy, to come with that fullness inside of us, is the patching of the leaks, the containment. And so a big part of the process for many men in stepping into embodiment of that BDE is actually understanding, where am I leaking energy? Where am I draining myself? And where are there opportunities for me to patch those leaks and to bring more containment? And that containment is what allows us to then move through the world grounded and safe, and to be able to have playful, flirtatious interactions with women that can be so generative, because it's not coming from a place of like, I want you, I need you, I'm trying to take something from you. It's coming from that place of like, authentically, I'm feeling really full, not full of myself, but full of energy. And I've got so much to share with the world. And so I feel very comfortable interacting with a woman who I find beautiful and letting her know, like, wow, this is such a gift to to be able to witness your beauty moving in the world. And those interactions, like I was saying, can be so generative for both people, because when the woman receives that type of a compliment, and it's coming with the energy of truly just giving, just acknowledging and appreciating, it can be received in a clean way. And there's less of that instinctual walls, guards up, and that feeling that so many women experience of like, oh, what does this man want from me? What is he trying to get? What is he trying to take? And I don't feel safe here. And so that's one of the many ways that I've noticed this playing out in my life, and it's been so generative to be able to move in the world and be authentic and truthful with the with my experience as a man, and to be able to share that and actually offer these little gifts, little blessings in a situation like that I was describing, of sharing the appreciation that I have for a woman's beauty, and not needing anything from her, just simply wanting to let her know. And then sometimes from that, really beautiful interactions can emerge. But it's just the simple authenticity of owning, hey, like this is something that's real and alive in me, and I want to share that with you. So that's quite a lengthy riff from me on what comes up first and foremost around big divine energy versus big dick energy, and love to turn it over to you, Ben, to fill in any gaps that I missed there, and where do you see the big divine energy playing out, and what does that mean to you?
Yeah, I think everything you outlined is spot on. That whole energy, the biggest difference I see between big dick energy and big divine energy is whether, just like you said, whether we're overflowing or whether we are empty and needing to take and manipulate, and like this grabby energy, which many men with plenty of swagger and plenty of BDE are unconsciously caught in. So yeah, I appreciate that overflowing analogy. I think that's the best way to understand it. And that authentic power that's actually rooted in me knowing myself, and me being true to myself, my words and my actions being in alignment, me being who I say I am when no one's looking. Like, that's the kind of energy we're talking about. That's true embodied confidence. And we've spoken to this before on the podcast, but moving and speaking and interacting with not just women and like our lover, but the world, and shaking people's hands and looking them straight in the eye. All of this is rooted in this coherence, this unshakableness that is divine energy, that is like God energy working through me. It's an alignment. And I think moving from that place, the world feels it, and it's magnetic, for everything that's aligned. And like, that's the whole point of sharing this, ultimately, is like, this is one of the greatest, I don't want to call it a cheat code. It's the opposite of a cheat code. One of the greatest, like, tools or gifts, it's the greatest gift I think we can step into as men, just being very conscious and moving through the world with power and, care and thoughtfulness and intention, and ownership of like our desires, while also having containment and not letting ourselves be dictated and drug around by them. And this is all coming back to even the name of this whole podcast, like men's sexual mastery, just mastering ourselves so that we're not the master of these forces that are unconscious. So yeah, speaking to the overflowing analogy, one thing, this is like the beginning of our entire training. We start with this. This is part of our foundations, because we say sexual energy will, as we say all the time, it binds and amplifies. This is a characteristic from traditional Chinese medicine. It turns up the volume knob on whatever's going on inside. So having a foundation of what we call BDE is essential to build any of these sexual transmutation practices on top of, because it's going to be turning up the volume. So if you're in coherence, it's going to be turning up that, and you're in integrity, you're in alignment with yourself, it's going to be rocket fuel. If you are not, if you're unconsciously seeking to extract from your woman or just manipulate in the world, or you're not being truthful, or you're not being really aligned with your true self, with God, I would say, it's going to cause that to be turned up. And like, that's part of the process too. There's nothing wrong with that getting turned up. It just brings it to the light. So yeah, from that foundation, like one of the ways, if we want to get into, how can men begin building this embodied confidence, this BDE, claim their desires, move through the world with power, and presence and alignment. We talk about first patching the energetic leaks, which you referred to. If we want our cup to overflow before going into interactions with, especially within partnership, first we need to identify the leaks. So yeah, I'd be happy to get into some of those leaks if that's something that feels most aligned for you, Hawks. Do you want to start to speak to some of those leaks?
Yeah, I think we can move in that direction. And on the way there, I want to circle back around to something that you spoke to that feels really important and foundational around this BDE, and that was our capacity to maintain eye contact with the people that we're interacting with. And there is so much there. There's so much information, and there is such vulnerability that can be conveyed and experienced through deep or just lasting, steady eye contact. And this is one of the most prominent ways that I notice in the world and in with other men that I'm interacting with, that level of perceived big divine energy. And it's the ability, the capacity to hold and maintain steady, calm, grounded eye contact. And this is a real edge for a lot of men. And I see it in men interacting with other women. And there's so much there that can be revealed to us in our comfortability with being seen, seeing and being seen. And this is the vulnerability of maintaining steady eye contact. The eyes are often referred to as windows to the soul. It's this gateway into our depth. And if there are aspects of our life that we carry shame around, if there are pieces of how we move through the world as men that are out of alignment, that are out of integrity with the standard that we would like to hold ourselves to, then there is going to be resistance to truly being seen. There will be a shakiness in eye contact because unconsciously or subconsciously there is an aversion to really being seen by someone. And so when it comes to energetic leaks, I would first start by just looking at the broad picture of where am I not living in integrity in my life,
And where can I not look at myself in the mirror? Because I think that's where it all starts. It's like, really, can you look at yourself in the mirror and be fully in alignment with yourself and like proud of yourself and who you're showing up as? Just want to toss that in there.
Yeah, exactly. It's our own perception of ourself, our self-confidence, our self-consciousness, and the shame that we might carry that is going to be the biggest inhibitor to that steady eye contact, that ability to be seen, to truly be seen by others. And that's what's required in steady eye contact, like the gazing, where it's not just staring, it's not just the looking out and taking in, but it's the reciprocity of the giving and receiving. I'm looking out, but I'm also allowing in. And that is a vulnerable place to be in, but it's an incredibly fulfilling place to be in when we can stand in that, stand in our truth, stand in our authenticity, knowing that I'm a man of integrity and I'm proud of who I am. And I'm not perfect, but I'm absolutely comfortable in being seen in my truth and who I am. And that simple shift in how we engage with the world through our eyes and with people that we're interacting with conveys so much information on a subconscious or unconscious level, and all of that information is being received and processed by the people that we're interacting with, whether they're consciously aware of it or not. And all of that is informing what you were speaking to before, which is our magnetism. Are we attracting people and opportunities to us, or are we actually repelling them from our own internal resistance or aversion to really actually allowing ourselves to be seen, allowing ourselves to receive?
Yeah, and I'd say one that's very closely linked to that is the breath. As another major component here of BDE. There's this saying that the most powerful person in the room is the most regulated. As a person in the deepest breath, in the deepest relaxed, grounded state. And that's another thing that can be felt. It's, it's in our posture as well. It's in our breath, it's in our eye contact. All of these things are connected. But we say all the time, you guys have heard it, in this podcast and in our training programs, we say sexual mastery is nervous system mastery, which is also just life mastery. So I'd say another major component here to stepping into BDE, to begin to fill up that cup and be able to give that to others, is having such deep breath and breath awareness and regulation, and that's what's felt also in people's eyes when they look at our eyes. And you walk into a room and it's just like the people feel that.
Mm-hmm.
You can be in a business meeting, like we had one of our alumni cohorts, I think like a month ago, a brother was sharing about some business negotiations he was in that were really tight and intense, and just the people were carrying a lot of tension and breathing in a very shallow way coming into the call. And he practiced breathing deep and just holding that presence. And he said he noticed like a shift, and just like gradually everybody felt more comfortable, more safe. And of course, we're bringing that to ourselves, but that can be our gift. That's our overflow that we can share. And that's just in business partnership. Talk about in the bedroom or with our romantic partner. When we have the ability to slow down and just be in our breath and be comfortable in the silence, be comfortable in gazing straight into someone's eyes, and not in an intense way, in a soft way, in a loving way, that is powerful. That is magnetic. That is inviting people in. And it's another major pillar, I would say, in building BDE.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would just slightly reframe something you said there, with that eye contact not being intense. And certainly it's not necessarily going to be intense. However, it can feel intense sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think intensity is necessarily, good or bad or right or wrong. Intensity
Mm-hmm.
can be part of that BDE, because for someone who's meeting a man fully in his BDE, fully in his authenticity and his power, and really grounded in it, that can be very intense for someone
Mm-hmm.
to meet. But what I think you were getting at is it's not aggressive.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
reframe I would say there is, it's not aggressive.
Yeah.
It's coming from a
Better word.
place.
For
And yes, sometimes the gentleness and the softness is what the situation is really asking for, and that's, we can shift that, and we can bring that softness and that gentleness as an offering to the interaction or to the space, if that's what's being called for. And sometimes intensity is actually what's needed. Sometimes it is important for us as a man to stand in that power, grounded, and to be able to convey simply through our eyes that level of intensity that says to the world around us or the people we're interacting with, like, hey, like, I'm here, like, I see you, I see what's going on here, and you're not getting away with it. And just to hold that, and it can be really intense for people, but sometimes that is exactly the medicine that's required in that moment. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well said. That's a helpful clarification for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Let's drop into a couple more points, just some basic points around BD and cultivating it. I know another one that comes to my mind is talking too much, fidgeting,
Mm-hmm.
and like tapping and things like that. Not, posture I mentioned, standing up straight and tall, and also being relaxed. We don't have to be like too overly rigid or posturing,
Mhm.
but it's like a relaxation. And I even say that relates to the eye contact as well. When I speak
Mhm.
to intensity, it's like not having tension in it. It's like being able to soften the front side of our body, and breathe deep and relax and maybe even smile a little bit behind the eyes or behind the mouth, just a slight smirk, kind of this like you're carrying just like this little secret. No one knows that you're just like breathing the whole room right now. And you're not doing it from a place of trying to manipulate anything. You're just doing it to be of service to
Mhm.
whatever's in front of you. I'd say, yeah, but the speaking too much, movement, unnecessary movement, poor posture, breathing shallow, as I mentioned, like those are all pretty interrelated to me in terms of
Mhm.
physical ways that we can step into more BDE.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I would say that all of those points you just made, they all convey, again, subtly or subconsciously, a level of distraction or a level of contraction. There's something that is actually not at ease within the individual who's fidgeting or who's endlessly talking and oversharing. There's something
Mhm.
that is being conveyed there that's actually, I'm not fully comfortable in my skin or in this situation
Mhm.
right now. And all of that it's contrary to the grounded, calm confidence of BDE. So yeah, I appreciate you bringing up those points. I want to make sure we touch a little bit on the sexual aspect of this and why is big divine energy so inherently related to men's sexual mastery and to our sexual energy as men. And to that point, what I would circle back around to is that one of the first aspects I brought up of this, which is, are we moving through the world with a level of containment within ourselves and a level of self-respect, free of shame, that allows us to really be seen and that allows us to be comfortable in our skin, who we are, and with whatever situation or interaction we're having, there's a grounded sense of ease within the self. And I would say, in my observation, one of the biggest, probably the biggest um, contributor to shame, to self consciousness, to aversion to really being seen for men is aspects of sexuality that are not in alignment or that there isn't a grounded confidence around. So if a man is acting out sexual impulses behind closed doors that he's not proud of, that he carries shame or guilt around, that is all going to inhibit that free flow of grounded big divine energy as he's interacting with the world. If there's anxieties around sexual relating, if a man isn't confident in his ability to really provide an experience for a partner that is everything that he would wish it to be and that she would hope for it to be, like, there's going to be little chinks in the armor of that grounded confidence, that big divine energy that allows us to interact with the world, knowing, like, yeah, whatever whatever wherever this goes, I'm ready, and I'm confident that I will be able to navigate this interaction or this relationship in a way that I'm stoked on, and that my potential partner is incredibly pleased with. And so the sexuality part and our sexual energy, it is so powerful, and it's moving beneath the surface all of the time. And so that is just such a big aspect of what the world feels as we move through it, regardless of whether it's a potentially sexual connection or not, whether it's a business meeting or a first date or an interaction on the dance floor with a woman that you find attractive and you're curious about, wanting to dance with her, something, all of those situations, the degree of sexual confidence and integrity that we are carrying within ourselves is going to be felt. And that is a massive contributor to our magnetism. And again, like whether it's actually a sexual connection or not, that is still such a massive contributor to that polarity and the magnetic power that we move through the world with.
Yeah, well said. And I think it goes without saying that frequent ejaculation, as we talk about often on here, is going to be obviously a drain on this energy because of what you just outlined. So I think that's an obvious one. And again, we've spoken to this many times. It's not about, we're not diehard semen retention, dogmatic, just like we don't hold dogmatic positions on this, but finding a cadence of ejaculation that is harmonious and supportive to this energy. And in the beginning, building it up a bit. This is what we do in the training, of course. Like, it's not just patching the holes, but it's also bringing in the practices that fill the vessel with water, which is all these sexual transmutation tools that we go through in the training with you guys. But as that energy builds, and especially if you have the tools to replenish it more quickly, you eventually find that balance of, what's the proper amount of time to hold your semen to allow that cup to really overflow and to pour into the world around you, and for the world around you to feel that overflowing energy. It's very, very subtle, very nuanced, very energetic. But I definitely would say women can smell it on you when you've been holding your sexual energy for a while, and that definitely plays a big part in building this BDE.
Yeah, it's felt, and it's felt internally, and this is a unanimous, I would say, experience for men that we work with that go through this process of, for the first time, perhaps exploring what is it like to create a longer period in between my ejaculations? What is it like to build up a little more of that sexual energy in my system? What impact does that have on how I feel? And what impact does that have on how the world feels me? And across the board, men report, I feel more energy. I feel more power. I feel more creative flow. I feel more motivation. I feel more strength in my workouts, all of that. And I feel more magnetic. I notice people checking me out. As I move through the world, all of a sudden, I'm the one that glances over and notices, oh, this woman is looking at me. Versus the other way around, where a man without that BDE is more likely to be the type of person who's sneaking glances all of the time at the things that he wants and that he desires. And there's that kind of taking energy, or that hidden aspect of it, like, oh, I want to look at that, but I don't actually feel worthy. So as soon as she glances over at me, I'm going to avert my eyes. And there's this shift of like, you know what, actually, I'm going to, if I really appreciate the beauty of a woman and I'm comfortable, conveying that to her, I will meet her eyes and allow a few moments of eye contact. And like you were saying, just that subtle smile, smiling behind the eyes, and just conveying that simple appreciation, and not hiding away from it, and not trying to sneakily take it, but just being in that exchange of like, wow, thank you. Thank you for your beauty. And now I'm going to move on and carry on with my day, if it's not actually appropriate, or the desired to engage further. But then if it is, that's also such a huge aspect for men who might be single and seeking partnership, the ability to actually approach a woman. And one of the first, I would say, like the most appropriate first way to engage with a woman is eye contact. And that can convey that safety. It can convey desire. It can convey so much. And it can also, we're also receiving information, because based on how she responds to that eye contact, it might become clear, oh, she's actually not interested. She's busy. She's occupied. She's in a relationship, whatever. And then it can be like, okay, well, actually, that's not for me right now. And that's totally fine. I'm not attached to it. I don't need it. But I was curious enough to engage. And so, yeah, there's this element of patching up the energetic leak of our sexual energy and the physical substance of that being our semen as men. And so that is an obvious one if you've been following along with our podcast for a long time, or if you've been engaging with this type of work and exploring other teachings in this realm, and it might be new information for you. And so just to share, I feel like we've shared enough around that. And that's, of course, one of the big energetic leaks that we can start to patch up and really start to feel that difference as we were speaking to. Ben, there's one more piece that I would love to dive into, and then I know we're coming close to our time for this call. So yeah, I'd love to speak about BDE and magnetism for men in partnership, and to speak to the magnetism that a couple carries and the sexual connection and the sexual fulfillment, the intimacy, and how thriving or lacking that is in a partnership, in a couple, how that influences each individual in that partnership, that influences their BDE, that influences their magnetism, and then that couple as a unit together, the magnetism that they carry through the world. And a thriving, intimate connection and relationship, a really healthy, thriving relationship, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically, of course, is going to be the full package. But just for the sake of this conversation, I also notice big differences in the magnetism that an individual in partnership carries based on the degree of physical, sexual fulfillment in that partnership as well. And that is another way that that we can increase our magnetism in the world, is by really focusing on how can I co-create with my partner the deepest, most fulfilling sex life possible. And that fills the cup for the woman when she's feeling really appreciated, ravished, fulfilled, all the pleasure that she desires. That is going to fill her cup, and she becomes magnetic, and she moves through the world as I believe it's Kim Anami would say, a well-fucked woman. And like, we can feel that if you're tuned into it. It's one of those things, again, that is felt, whether it's conscious or not. There is a difference in an energy of a woman who's deeply sexually fulfilled, and that becomes very magnetic. And then that also greatly influences the man, because, as I was saying before, if we as men are not feeling confident in how we are showing up in our relationships, how we're showing up sexually for our partners, then there's going to be some element of heaviness or disappointment or shame or guilt that man is then carrying. And that is going to be felt by the world as well. So also in partnership, to just mention that how attractive we are to the world, to opportunities, whether it's business opportunities, new relationships, a new home, money, whatever it is, like the degree, how magnetic we are to attracting those opportunities to us is influenced by how thriving our sexual connection is with our partner, how aligned our sexual energy is within ourselves. And so that's something that's very alive for me, and I feel it's worth mentioning on this topic.
Yeah, it's powerful how much a woman can amplify a man's experience, and vice versa. It's like an echo chamber of how we're showing up. And that's a really powerful point to add in as well. One other one I was feeling as we were speaking to this, just for men listening who are getting started, another aspect I see of BDE is having clarity in where you're going and your purpose in life, and making that your North Star. Like a man who is not connected to his purpose, who doesn't know why he's here, who doesn't have clarity within himself and his direction. And even if you don't have your purpose yet, it's like actively working towards that, and surrounding yourself with men who are on that same path, which is a lot of what's within our community. But wherever you find that, that direction and that leadership within yourself, like that is vital, I would say, to BDE. There can be, in this similar way we've been speaking to, this like latching, this like man-child kind of behavior, which is totally fine. Like I'm just as guilty of it, guys, right here. Like it's the default program for most of us. We haven't been taught this, but there can be this unconscious dependency, looking for fulfillment, looking for love outside of ourselves, looking for guidance and direction. All of it, we're not, all of it's unconscious. We're not doing this consciously, but as we wake up to those patterns, it's really important for us to have direction and clarity and sovereignty, even within relationship with our own leadership and our own direction in life, that is not swayed by any partner, or friends around us or family. This is what we call inner authority. And this inner authority and this ability to tap into our inner authority is another vital component, I would say, of BDE.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. I know that we could go on for hours on this topic, and I've enjoyed the conversation today. It was very impromptu. We just got on here and hit record, and so I'm feeling a level of completion now, and I know we have another call to prepare for coming up, so it's time to wrap it up here. But I just hope that there was some valuable insights or reframes here for the listeners, and would love to hear from anyone in the comments if that shift, if this reclamation of big dick energy to big divine energy resonates for you, if you've noticed anything in your own life and experience around this. And as always, if you'd like to learn more, please come seek us out. You can join our free school community or join our next upcoming 12-week group training, which is launching on August 11th. And we're always happy to hear from you in the comments, or you can shoot us a message on Instagram. Love to chat and continue the conversation. So thanks for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. It was a joy to drop in conversation with you, as always, Ben.
Likewise, and big shout out to all the brothers in our community. Thank you so much for making this show possible, sending out these radio waves in all time and all space in service to future generations and the children waiting to be born into families where the men are leaders in sexuality, in intimacy, and in life, and not losing their energy, wasting their energy in things like pornography or being stuck in performance challenges. So big shout out to all you guys. Shout out to this mission. It's such an honor to be sharing this journey with you, Hawks, and with you, brothers, and everyone tuning in. Thank you guys so much for your support. And if you could leave us a review as well, that really helps us out. So we'll see you all in the next episode. And in the meantime, send big love your way.
Yeah. Take care. Keep cultivating that big divine energy.
Let's go.
Later, man. Bye, everyone.